My name is Riley, and for most of my life, I've been caught in the middle of a family divided by secrets, resentment, and unresolved pain. At 28, I'm still trying to make sense of the years my father was absent and the fallout from his return to our lives. I could hear the rage in my father's voice as he turned toward me, his face twisted in disbelief. "What do you think you're doing here? You've got a lot of nerve, picking today of all days to show up. Get out," he spat, his words cutting through the air like a blade. My heart raced, a lump forming in my throat as I stood there, frozen. This was supposed to be a family reunion, a chance to finally heal the wounds that had torn us apart for so long. But it was all unraveling right in front of me. The tension was thick, choking the air in the room. "No one invited you here," he said again, his voice dripping with disdain. "Actually, I invited him," Riley, my sister, spoke up. Her voice steady, but I could tell there was a hint of defiance behind her words. I could see the guilt and uncertainty on her face, torn between the family she had grown up with and the man who had abandoned us all those years ago. "Are you kidding me? Why would you do that?" My father turned on her, his fury mounting. "This man has no place here." I stood there trying to process everything happening around me. The anger, the betrayal, the judgment. It was all crashing over me, but I couldn't speak. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know if there was anything I could say that would make a difference. "Just listen to him," Riley said, her voice pleading, as she took a step forward. "He hasn't had a chance to explain. Just give him a chance to speak." "He abandoned us," someone else from the family chimed in, his voice bitter. "He walked out on us, and now he thinks he can come back here and act like everything is fine? After all these years?" "Please," Riley pleaded again, looking around the room at the angry faces. "Just hear him out. He doesn't deserve this, not without a chance to explain." But my father wasn't having it. "Some things can't ever be forgiven," he growled, his fists clenched at his sides. I couldn't take it anymore. "Dad, please," I spoke, my voice trembling with the emotion I was struggling to hold back. "Just give me a chance to talk." He turned on me, his eyes narrowing. "You're defending him now? Since when have you ever called him your father?" "Since when?" I swallowed hard, the weight of his words hitting me like a punch to the gut. I knew this wasn't going to be easy, but I had to do it. I had to face the reality of what I had done, of what I had become. I owed it to myself and to this family to explain. "Just listen," I began, my voice shaking, but growing steadier as I spoke. "I know I hurt you all. I left when you needed me. I walked away, and I thought it was the right thing to do at the time." Riley looked at me, her eyes filled with confusion. "But why did you leave?" she asked softly, her voice breaking. "Why didn't you just tell us?" I took a deep breath, feeling my chest tighten with the weight of it all. "I was addicted," I confessed, the word hanging in the air like a heavy cloud. "I was battling something I couldn't control, and instead of being the man you all needed me to be, I pushed you away. I thought I could handle it, but I couldn't. I left because I was ashamed, and I didn't want to drag you all down with me." The silence that followed was deafening. I could feel their eyes on me, waiting, judging. "Why didn't you tell us?" Riley asked again, her voice quiet now, filled with hurt. "I didn't want to burden you," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "I thought I could get clean on my own, but I was wrong. I pushed everyone away, including your mother. And then, when I found out she had passed, I couldn't finish the sentence. The words stuck in my throat. "You never came to Mom's funeral," my father said, his voice cold with accusation. "You didn't even try. You didn't care." I shook my head. "I tried," I said, my voice cracking. "I wanted to be there, but I was so lost in myself that I couldn't even bring myself to show up." "You think that makes it better?" my father demanded. "You think that gives you the right to waltz back in here after all these years and ask for forgiveness?" "No," I said, my voice steady now. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for the chance to explain, to let you know the truth about why I left and what I've been going through." Riley took a step forward, her eyes filled with empathy. "I understand," she said softly, "but it's not just about what you've been through. It's about what we've been through too. I know, I whispered, and I'm sorry. I wish I could have done things differently, but I can't change the past. All I can do is ask for a chance to make it right. The room was silent again, the weight of everything we had endured together hanging over us like a heavy storm cloud. I could see my father's eyes flickering between anger and something else. Regret, maybe, or fear. But he didn't say anything. Finally, Riley spoke again. Mom always used to say that forgiveness isn't about easing someone's burden. It's about easing your own. And I think we need to forgive, not just for him, but for us. There was a long pause before my father spoke, his voice softer now, but still filled with anger. I'm not ready to forgive you, he said, his voice a growl. But I'll try. I'll try to understand why you did what you did. Thank you, I said, my voice breaking as the weight of the words hit me. That's all I can ask for. And as we stood there, the air thick with unresolved pain and years of regret, I knew that forgiveness wasn't something that could happen overnight. But this was a start, a difficult, painful start, but a start nonetheless. So now, as I sit here reflecting on all that's happened, I'm asking you, my friends, have you ever had to face a moment like this, where the past comes crashing in, forcing you to confront things you've buried for years? How did you handle it? Do you think forgiveness is possible in situations like this? Let's talk. Leave a comment and share your thoughts. I'd love to hear from you. As the tension slowly began to ease, I could feel the weight in my chest begin to lift. We weren't there yet, not by a long shot, but maybe, just maybe, we could start healing. Riley's voice broke the silence once again, her words quieter now, but still carrying the same weight. I never thought we'd be standing here like this, she said, looking around at all of us. But I think we're all learning something important. Mom would have wanted us to come together, no matter how broken we felt. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. She always believed in second chances, I whispered, the memory of her voice echoing in my mind. Maybe we should give it to each other now. Not just for me, but for all of us. We've all been through so much, and we can't change the past. But we can choose what happens next. My father shifted uncomfortably, running a hand through his hair. His face was unreadable now, the anger that had been there moments before replaced with exhaustion. I don't know if I can ever forgive you, he muttered, his voice hoarse. But I'll try. I owe you that much. The words hung in the air, and I knew it wasn't going to be easy. We all had scars from the past, some deeper than others. But there was a glimmer of hope now. Maybe, just maybe, we could move forward from here. Just then, Nathan, who had been standing quietly by my side the whole time, stepped forward. His graduation cap was still perched on his head, and he looked between my father and me, his eyes filled with a mixture of confusion and disappointment. Dad, he said softly, his voice steady, I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again, but I'm glad you're here. I don't know what forgiveness looks like right now, but I think it's a step, and that's more than I thought I could ever say. My heart swelled with pride for him. He'd been through so much already, and yet here he was, showing more maturity and grace than I could have imagined. He wasn't the angry young man who had been crushed by my absence all those years ago. He was starting to understand that forgiveness wasn't just for me, it was for all of us. Thank you, son, I said, my voice thick with emotion. That means more than you know. There was a long silence, and for the first time in years, it didn't feel suffocating. It felt like the beginning of something new. The past could never be erased, but maybe, just maybe, we could begin to rebuild what we had lost. Riley cleared her throat, breaking the silence. Okay, enough of this heavy stuff, she said, a smile tugging at her lips. Let's cut the cake before it gets too cold. I chuckled softly, the tension finally breaking. It wasn't perfect, and it wasn't easy, but for the first time in a long time, we were all in the same room, trying to figure things out together. As we gathered around the table, my father, though still distant and guarded, finally spoke up. I can't promise things will be easy, he said gruffly, but I'll try. I'll try to be the father you deserve, even if it takes time. I nodded, grateful for the small step forward. That's all I can ask for, Dad. Just take it one day at a time. We're all learning here. And with that, as the cake was cut and the tension in the room finally started to ease, I felt a sense of peace that had been absent for so long. This wasn't the end of our story, but it was a beginning. And sometimes that's all you need to start over. As we continued to eat, talk, and laugh, tentatively at first but slowly gaining confidence, I knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be more difficult conversations, more wounds to heal, and more lessons to learn. But for the first time in years, I felt hope that we could make it through. And now, I ask you, have you ever had to confront the past and try to move forward, even when the road seemed impossible? How did you do it? What do you think it takes to truly forgive and rebuild what was broken? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. As the night drew on, the tension that had gripped the room started to dissolve, leaving behind a fragile but real sense of resolution. My father, for the first time in what felt like forever, didn't look at me with resentment or anger. His eyes held something else. Regret, perhaps, but also a hint of relief. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. We'd come to terms with things in our own way. The words I had been afraid to speak for so long were finally out. And even if the past couldn't be rewritten, there was still a chance for a different future. A future where maybe, just maybe, we could rebuild something worthwhile from the ashes of everything we'd lost. It wouldn't be easy, but I felt a new resolve within me, a strength I hadn't known I was capable of. Riley's voice broke the silence as she made a lighthearted comment, trying to ease the remaining discomfort. For a brief moment, we all shared a small laugh. The tension wasn't completely gone, but it was a start, and I was grateful for it. I guess we still have a long way to go, I said quietly, my words directed to no one in particular, but to all of us. But we'll get there, together. Nathan, now standing beside me, gave a small smile. Yeah, we're not done, but it's a start. It was clear that things would never be the same. We'd all been changed by the years of pain, silence, and bitterness. But perhaps in this moment, we could begin to understand each other again, even if only just a little bit. Sometimes healing doesn't come all at once. Sometimes it takes one small, imperfect step forward at a time. As I looked around at the people who had been my family for so long, I realized something important. The road ahead wouldn't be simple, and forgiveness was something we'd have to keep working on. But I no longer felt as if I was walking it alone. We were all here, together, each of us with our own scars, but also with the potential to heal, and that gave me hope. So as the cake was finally served and the last remnants of tension seemed to disappear, I allowed myself to feel something I hadn't in years. Peace. The kind of peace that comes not from fixing everything, but from accepting that some things can't be fixed, only lived with. But that doesn't mean they define us. Our choices, our efforts to move forward, those are what truly matter. I turned to face my father one last time. Let's just take it one day at a time, Assam, I said softly. We'll get there. And in that moment, I knew that no matter how uncertain or difficult the journey ahead might be, I was ready to face it. The lessons from the past had been painful, but they had taught me one thing, that the future was still ours to shape. As I sit here reflecting on what just happened, I'm curious to know what you think. Have you ever had to rebuild relationships that seem broken beyond repair? What steps did you take? How do you move forward when the past feels too heavy to carry? Let's talk about it in the comments. I'm interested in hearing your stories and thoughts.